Hi, it's Comfort Agara recording live from Black Tech LA Weekend with TNE Magazine.
Said I'm living a good life, yeah, living the good life. Oh, I'm living a good life, living the good life. Said I'm living the good life, yeah.
For those who don't know who you are, please introduce yourself.
Sure, I'm Sequoia Blodgett. I am the tech editor for Black Enterprise, and I'm also the founder and CEO of Commas, which is a members-only club.
Awesome, Commas. So please tell us about that.
Yeah, so Commas is a club where we do all kind of education around financial literacy, but in a cool, fly way. So if you think, we just had an event called Live Your Legacy, which was in partnership with Gary Vaynerchuk, and all of the conversation was about how do you, like, what legacy do you want to live or leave, how do you plant that legacy while you're here, and how do you live it as, like, now versus, like, after the fact, right? So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So what do you like more about being in the tech space?
So I used to be in entertainment. So I started my career as a commercial music video director, and it was interesting because everything was very visual. And so tech is very educational, right? It's very analytical. All the conversations are based around really smart people. And I think that's what's interesting is there's a balance. I just moved here from San Francisco, and in the Bay, everything is very structured and vertical, right? Here it's very visual. So it's cool to see both worlds kind of blend.
Okay, that's awesome. So, being from San Francisco to now being in LA, do you see a different culture with people in tech?
Yeah, so it's a broader conversation. Okay. In San Francisco, it's very like, how much venture did you raise? What was your round? What kind of company did you start? Are you doing AI? Are you doing augmented reality? Are you in blockchain? So the conversations are very analytical, whereas here it's creative. So it's, what production are you working on, and what's the digital side of that look like, and what does it look like visually? And so I think there's a blend of both worlds. Like, you can't have one without the other. Okay. So I like the fact that they're kind of marrying.
Okay. So for those who might aspire to be where you are right now, what would you recommend be the steps that they take, whether it be in a tech space or creating their own app, or basically maybe even following the same footsteps as you have? What would you recommend that they start doing now or prepare to do in the future?
So there's two different variations, right? So I was a creative as a commercial music video director. That was very different. That was creating content, like create that content for free, do all the jobs that you can possibly do, build up your reel, pitch, get an agent, and then basically make money, right? Tech is very different. And the conversation is different also. When you go to Silicon Valley, you go to start a company. I've had a company, it was venture backed. The first question they want to know is who's on your team? Like, who's the founder? Like, who are the founders? Do you have a co-founder? More than likely, if you don't.
So team is important.
Yeah, oh my God, it's so important. Okay. If you don't have a co-founder, they're like, get out, because we know that you cannot run this company by yourself, right? And even if there's not particularly a co-founder, who else is on that team, right? So I think that's one of the conversations that's very different.
Do you think that each team member basically is bringing something dynamic?
Oh yeah, you have to have a team that's diverse. Okay. You don't want to have two people who are very analytical, two people who are CTOs, or two people who are very business minded, because you're not getting what you need to get done, right? So in my case, I'm the creative. I like innovation. I do like the business side, but then who's doing all the technical? Who's building out that app? Who's building out the product, right? So finding a balance, I think, is super important.
Awesome. So what was your breakthrough?
Whew. I don't know if there was one particular breakthrough. That's interesting. So when I moved to Silicon Valley, I went under this program, Draper University, which is essentially a 7-week entrepreneurship boot camp. Okay. And it basically threw you into tech. It was created by this venture capitalist named Tim Draper, who his family is a dynasty. He's a third generation venture capitalist, right? And so going through that process, you're immersed in an ecosystem where people already know what they're doing. People have raised funds, they know how to build companies, they know how to exit companies, they know strategy. And so I was thrown into that and very like green. Oh God, I was so green when I started. I had no idea. Like scale? You're talking about? You mean the thing that's like in the bathroom that you stand on? Like what is the scale?
What is that?
Right. So it was just really interesting to go through the process of being that green and learning so fast to the point of like actually raising a venture and like starting a company and being a CEO of like a Delaware C Corp, which who knew?
Have
right?
you been? Do you find being a CEO more fun?
Oh God, no. So I think the biggest thing with being a CEO that a lot of people don't realize is all the responsibility is on you, right? At the end of the day, the success of your team, if the company fails, if the company succeeds, it's on you. Obviously, you have your team as your support system, but you got to make sure that they get paid. You got to make sure that the payroll is going. You got to make sure that the company's generating revenue. There's so many things. Like if you're not ready, which in the case where I started, I just wasn't ready to be a CEO, and I was.
But you were thrown into it,
right? But I was also very clear that I wasn't ready to be a CEO. So it was for me, it was hard to kind of step back and be like, this is just not like where I need to be right now. I actually need to go learn, and then come back and reevaluate.
So do you think that the fact that you were thrown into it gave you that experience to realize maybe this is not what I'm ready for, and I'm going to revisit it?
Yes, because I think a lot of people wait for the perfect time.
Okay.
There's no perfect time, right? So you.
And I think that's what it is. People get afraid. They say, okay, I'm going to do it when I have A, B, C, D.
There's never a perfect time. So you have to go in, you have to try it. And if it works, it works. It doesn't, right? And that's the difference between my experience being in the entertainment industry and then being in tech is we were taught to fail. Like that was something that was glorified. Oh, you failed? Cool. Like that means you're an experienced entrepreneur versus out here, you're only as good as your last gig. So like what you shot something 5 years ago.
Right.
Next, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's a very different dynamic, I think.
So for those who are building their muscles, their technical muscles, I would say, obviously failure is a good thing because then you have to persevere.
Yeah.
What other attributes do you think a tech person or someone who needs to create their first product, service needs to have so they're not a quitter? Per se.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people wait till it's the perfect product.
Okay.
It's never a perfect product, right? You want to have what's called a minimum viable product, which is like the scaled back version of what that product should be.
Okay.
So, and that could be as much as a survey. I've seen people raise millions of dollars. Now that's a whole nother conversation based off of like what funds are allocated to like our community. But there are certain people who have raised millions of dollars based on the fact that they have an idea, concept, and validation on that concept. And what I mean by that is, say you wanted to create, I don't know, a makeup line, right? That it's like high tech in some way.
Okay.
And you went out and you surveyed your audience and you found out that there was a demand, right? So you created an email list and you said, hey, I'm going to do pre-sales and I'm going to get X amount of dollars in these pre-sales. Well, that's called traction.
Okay.
So now you validated it and you didn't build a whole app to do that.
Oh, wow.
Right? So a lot of people want to wait until they have like the perfect product. And it's a lot of fear.
Right.
You're like.
So you basically need to take the information that you're receiving as you go to refine your product.
Absolutely. Awesome. So you iterate. So you get the feedback from your audience, your customer, and you just change it. You change it and you change it. And eventually your customer, another thing I see a lot is like, oh, I'm building this product because it's a need that I have.
Okay.
That's cool. Right? But who else needs this?
That's true.
Right? So once you get that feedback from your customer, then you can kind of go and grow that product. But always talking to your customer, always engaging your customer and trying to figure out what the needs are.
So I'm gonna throw you for a loop here. Favorite book?
Ooh, my venture deals. So when I started, like I said, venture capital, I was so green. Like it was ridiculous. I was pronouncing stuff wrong. And I was in this like community of people who were like, basically had known about venture. And I'm from the Bay, which is weird because there's the East Bay and then there's like the peninsula.
So there's a difference.
Oh God. And so the East Bay is like, what is going on over there? And then the peninsula is like Facebook, Google,
oh, wow.
Snap, like all the tech companies.
So it's like
right?
black and white. It's just
totally
different.
and not
Okay.
even on a racial standpoint.
No, right.
But like it is. It's like
Right.
so different. So even though I'm from the Bay Area,
Okay.
I did not understand the dynamics of tech in that way. Not being in the peninsula until I actually was in the peninsula.
Okay.
So what was interesting for me is going through that process of learning and just like really understanding what was happening, and just being open-minded, right? I think that's one thing that a lot of people, they jump into it and they're like, oh, I just want to raise $1 million and raise
Right.
whatever. Like, there's so much that goes into that. Like, it is not a get rich quick scheme.
Right.
Let's just be clear.
Which I think some people have that concept that, I'll just make this product, I'll be a billionaire, and that's it. But there's a process,
Oh, gosh.
just
Yeah.
years that people have to put
Oh, my
into
gosh.
before they get to that point.
Yeah.
And obviously they have to know their exit strategy, right?
Right. I mean, but there are still some companies that don't necessarily put in tons and tons of years. Like a great example is Blavity. Like they came out, they started the company, it pivoted away from what they had initially,
Okay.
created something that stuck.
Okay.
They created a community around it. Once that community stuck, then they were able to build around that, and they grew in 3 years. Like they raised quite a bit of capital.
So it could be
Yeah.
quick, it could be a long process.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. A lot of the times with tech, especially new tech, you
Okay.
see it happen really fast because innovation's happening really fast.
Yes.
So you'll see if it's working, right? Like you'll see it, and you'll know when it's not working because then it starts to happen really slow. And you're like,
Right,
wait.
right.
But when you have what's called product market fit, then you'll start
Okay.
to see it just like roll out really
Product
fast.
market fit. Can you explain that or elaborate on that? What
Yeah,
that is?
you'll get it. Like when you know that you have it, once
Okay.
you start to see your customers just coming, right?
Okay.
So Blavity is a great example of product market fit. Like
Okay.
their customers are loyal, their loyal community,
Okay.
right? So it just grows and grows and grows and grows. You know when you don't have product market fit,
When no one is coming
when
there.
it's like, or it's like,
It tanks. I see.
Yeah.
So through this process, do you have you had any really valuable mentorship, or was it just I went in, I did it for myself, I learned as I go, and that was it?
Oh no, like definitely mentors. Like Tim Draper was a massive mentor to me. Going through Draper University and being in that ecosystem, I think is so important because trial and error in tech is really, really, really hard, right? You want to have somebody who's done it before, who knows exactly what they're doing.
Okay.
Because it just makes sure, I think that's in life though. Like if you can have somebody who's already done it,
Right.
it just makes your life 1,000 times easier versus you like trying to beat your head against the wall.
That's true.
Like,
Well, for those who may not even have access to that type of mentor that you mentioned, what do you recommend, or what do you think is the best way for them to seek those people out?
I think what's interesting is everybody goes for like the top dog, right?
Of
They're like,
course,
"Oh."
because they're like, they know who they're doing. I want to learn from them.
Right, it's like the Tristan Walkers, like the,
Yes.
and it's like, listen, like at the end of the day, they don't have time. One,
Okay.
and two, there are peers that are doing exactly what you're doing and looking to grow. Like, think about networking like on your level
see.
versus trying to network up. Because if you don't have anything to bring to the table,
So
first
network
of all-
out.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
If you don't have anything to bring to the table, first of all, like I don't have time to spend much. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, the people who are networking out that you can network out with are going to be more apt to like actually contribute,
Help, right. That's true.
Versus a Tristan Walker who is like
Busy.
and so busy and priorities,
Right.
Right. So you become like one of the priorities down here. But you know, I mean, at the end of the day, I've said this all the time. Like, don't wait for somebody to be your mentor. You can look at somebody and say, all right, this is what they've done. Like everything's out there, everything's public domain, especially with social media now.
Right.
So
That's
you know what Tristan Walker did to be successful. There might be
Right.
some missing pieces of the story,
Right.
but you know.
But do your research.
Exactly.
And don't just expect them to say, oh, I'm going to hand you everything. I need you to work as well, too.
Exactly.
That's awesome. So, this is another wrench. Are you looking to change the world or make just amazing products?
I think so. For me, I'm a people person, right? So I think it's less of making I think amazing products should change the world, right? So one of the things that I'm tapping into with Commas right now is this Adulting 101 series.
Okay.
Where I think that there's so many things that you just do not know. Like, how do you, like, what are some tax
Yes.
incentives? Like, how do you purchase a home? Like what are you doing for credit? Like how do you make sure that your credit stays at a 750 so that you can get into whatever
information?
Listen here. I'm like, because I'm just like, why did school like?
Because nobody teaches you how to be an adult the same way moms and
it's
That's
so
true.
frustrating to me.
So you're learning life backwards.
Right, it's so frustrating. So we started this Adulting 101 series in our first course, and it is credit, because I think credit just people are like, oh, I don't need credit. Yes, you do. Like, if you tried to move through this world without credit,
It's not gonna work.
no. So yeah.
Wow. Well, how can we find your series?
Yeah.
How can we subscribe? What do we need to do to find out more about this Adult 101? Because that's pretty interesting, and I think a lot of people, they're looking for that. They're looking for, I mean, because you see now people Google all the time, how can I do this? What do I need to do with this?
Yep.
I think your series would definitely help answer a lot of those questions.
So it's commastheseries.com. That's where
commastheseries.com.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi.
So, for those who don't know who you are, please introduce yourself.
My name is Darian Harvin. I am a podcast host and news curator. I'm host of the podcast. Am I Allowed to Like Anything? I talk to up-and-coming thought leaders about their work, their lives, how they maintain their optimism in this world, and what they're currently actually loving in culture. And I'm also founder of the platform Bleak, which sends push notifications to people about Black entertainment news, specifically that's at the intersection of politics and pop culture. So it's a mouthful, but that's what it is.
Wow, that is a lot. What got you started into the tech space, into the podcasting?
Well, actually, it started with my podcast. It started honestly just with a conversation I was having with a friend.
Okay.
I went to Emerson College for broadcast journalism, and so I had taken classes that had allowed me to learn about audio software, editing, how to record sound. And so years later, I didn't honestly think that I would be using like the radio education.
Oh wow.
But I was able to use it to start a podcast. I honestly just started my podcast recording it off of the sound in my computer, editing from a free software, and just from there my podcast started to grow. It got better production wise. I got a mic instead of recording straight off my computer. Now I'm in a studio, so it just continued to grow as I did it.
So would you say that you organically got into the space because you also went to school for journalism, right? So you already knew this was kind of the path you wanted to take?
Yeah, I would say definitely in a way where I knew that I liked to interview people.
Okay.
I was looking for a way to create a project and a brand that was just mine.
Okay.
At the time, I've worked for NBC News, I've worked for BuzzFeed News, I've worked for Yahoo, I've worked shortly for CBS This Morning. So like all of my jobs have always been in newsrooms or news platforms or media. And so I specifically got kind of into news curation, which is basically when you're a social media editor, but you send push alerts, you just pay very close attention to how social platforms are changing.
Okay. And
also it's a lot of figuring out just the best ways to share information on those platforms.
if you would pick today the best platform for information and news, what would you say that is?
I think it depends on what you like. I personally would say Instagram.
Okay.
Because to me, Instagram is a place where if my friends are there and my friends are enjoying the platform, I want to be there sharing news. I think that the swipe up tool that you have if you have 10K followers or more, or if you're verified, is really powerful.
Okay.
And I just think that the tap style of storytelling is essentially like a new form of storytelling that I am trying to master. I think that swipe throughs and just how you can communicate on that platform with visuals and with captions, I really enjoy it. I think it's fun, and I think it's a great way to get information to people.
So do you think that when you were at Emerson College, there was a huge community in your field that you could collaborate with, or it was just something that you eventually sought out the answers to learn from experts?
I felt like it was a little bit of both. Emerson was really awesome for me because it to me it felt like a trade school in the way where I had all of the tools and the resources there to go out on the street and to go cover a story.
So like cameras,
yeah, like even with within my classes, I had to put together news shows.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
So it was practice, clearly.
It was like a lot of practice and very hands-on, and I'm a very hands-on person, so it was perfect for me.
That's great.
Yeah.
So for someone who is looking at what you've done so far and wanting to know, how do I get started? What do I need to do? What's your best advice for them?
I would say if you're currently in high school, go on YouTube and start to literally search questions that you may have. How to work a camera, how to work audio equipment. Literally just Google anything that you're slightly interested in and see if there are people out there who can teach you how to do it on YouTube. And if you are in college, or maybe let's say you're looking at colleges,
okay,
I would say to really try to base your major off of something that you just like genuinely enjoy doing.
Do you think a lot of people do things that they think makes more money versus what they're passionate about?
Yeah, which I think makes sense. Like, I understand why people do it, and I also think that especially for people of color, and for, I think also like first generation kids across the world, I think that sometimes it feels like, from my friends, that there are, you know, certain kinds of jobs that their parents want them to have to be able to support themselves and hopefully their families in the future. And I think that makes total sense. But I also feel like if you can push yourself to dig deep into your interests,
okay,
you can find like a way to make money off of that. But it may take it may take a lot of commitment.
Right. Have you had some really impactful mentors along the way through your journey?
Absolutely. I feel like everything that I have today is because of my mentors and my network, and particularly like very supportive women,
okay,
who have just kept an eye out for me beyond the career stuff. You know, I was living in New York up until a few months ago, and I just feel like I had a lot of people who looked out for me. Like, have you eaten? Let's go to dinner.
Okay.
I know that you're currently in this internship or at this job where you are not making enough money.
Okay.
I'm just making sure that you're good, so let's get dinner and also like let's talk shop.
So basically, having a support system was clearly important.
Absolutely.
What would you say for someone who is needing that? How can they find that support system? Maybe if they're not having it within their current circle, where
Sure.
do they go? How do they, look for that mentor to help them?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that it can be done through social media, but you need to be smart about how you do it.
Okay.
I would say if you are someone who, you're someone on the internet who you really admire, I would DM them and say, hi, my name is X, Y, and Z.
Okay.
I do this. That's okay. So, hi, my name is X, Y, and Z, one sentence. I do this. That's the second sentence. I like you because of this. I like what you're doing. That's the third sentence. I would love to reach out to you via email. Would you be open to that? As opposed to writing
That's
a
really
novel through DM.
Basically, get to the point.
Yeah, get to that point. But also, so it's that, but also be working on something or start something that like you bring to the table in some way to show that you are trying on your own to learn. It doesn't have to have a big audience. It doesn't have to be successful yet, but it's more about showing people that you are working on skills to make yourself better, and maybe to be a resource to them in the future. You know, like it can't just be like you're sucking the life out of them.
That's true. So with your company, please tell us more about that.
Yeah, so I started a media company called The Seam,
Okay.
and essentially it is a place where I want to build out projects that are based in curation of news. So I think Bleak is a perfect example of more of the kinds of projects that I want to grow under this Seam as this media company. I essentially came up and was thinking about this really simple idea of Bleak because I noticed that Black people and really people of color weren't being sent push notifications about the things they want to know about right away.
How do you feel about some of those information that comes through your phone, for example, that you never even requested or searched for? Is that a new technology?
Well, with push notifications, you can definitely always opt in and opt out of
Okay.
them through the news app.
Okay.
So it's definitely always like a sign up thing.
Okay.
But I just think that there is certain kind of news that you want to tell your friend, that you want to share with your friend, that you want to kind of be the first to know about, so that you can, you know, like I want to make people that smart friend in the room who people love to hear information about. I want to, through Bleak, I've sent push notifications about when Barack and Michelle Obama's national portraits were unveiled in DC.
Wow.
I send push notifications about when the next season of Insecure is going to be.
So you're able to tell people the information as you receive it.
Right, because
awesome.
as someone who is a curator, I know about so many platforms. I have the tools to kind of organize them in a way where I have a stream of them on Twitter, or I know about the best writers of color who are really you know, writing really thoughtful contextual work. And so if I can spread that and create tools to spread their work, because they all work in different places, then I want to do that, and I want to share it with more of my audience, because my interests are not unique, right? Like I'm sure you and I have a lot of the same interests.
Yes.
And some of the things that I know right away as a curator, I'm sure that you would like to know as well, as someone, well, you're a journalist as well, but you know, for people who just like are into knowing about pop culture, period.
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna throw a wrench out. Favorite book
Oh my gosh.
or favorite books if you can't pick one.
That's a really tough question. My favorite book right now, I'll do my favorite book right now and then my favorite book of all time. My favorite book right now that I'm reading is by Cleo Wade. Why am I blanking on the name of this book? I'm blanking on the name of her book.
Okay.
I think it's called Heart Talk.
Okay.
So one of my favorite books.
What do you like about it?
I like it because it's clear, it's direct, and it's compassionate.
Okay.
And it almost feels like a little daily devotional. Like I read a little bit and I process a little bit every day. And then I would say one of my like favorite books of all times, I think, is Americana.
I've heard of that.
By Chimamanda. I don't even know how to pronounce her.
I've heard of that book.
Yeah, so that's one of my favorite books.
Do you think for someone who wants to go into tech space, podcasting, etc., they need to read?
Absolutely. I think that you don't even have to always be reading about tech. You could read about fiction.
Okay.
Like there is just, I think that people sometimes just think of tech as tech.
Right.
But tech is life and movement and culture, and so if you can find a way to take tech and to infuse it with other things that you're interested in, like you'll find something.
So coming from New York, right? Do you see a cultural difference in tech in New York versus here in Los Angeles?
I haven't noticed it yet, but I think I haven't been enough immersed in spaces such as these to notice it yet.
Okay. I think, do you also, what about someone who says they are ready to, you know, launch a product, they need funding? What is your advice for them? What can you share with them in that stage that they're building their products or service? How do you?
Right. I would say the one thing was to not wait for the money and to do absolutely everything you can to start it now.
Such as
making learning design, learning how to. I feel like there are so many tools out there, such as Canva, which kind of have like democratized design. I like learn how to start a brand, start to read as much as you can, start to connect with people who you think may be able to help. And then the second thing I would do was to create content. So I think that when I say that people think start a website or start a blog, no, start a great Instagram account. Start an Instagram account that isn't just promo for your business, but more serves people and feels like an account people would want to follow because of the content of the actual account that's related to your business. So
I think,
that's how you grow an audience, in my opinion.
Because I think some people, they bombard you with everything they want. You know, so do you believe people should also understand their marketplace?
That too. And also not being afraid to go deep. And what I mean by that is to have a niche. I think that when people hear niche, they think small. But no, it's about finding your tribe. And about it's about finding your tribe and finding the community of people who are into your product. And when you can tap into that, then that's when the possibilities become limitless.
Awesome. So what can we expect from you next with your podcast? What do you have that we can look out for to be a part of?
Yeah, I think that a big thing right now is I am currently focusing a lot on my podcast. I just created a sizzle reel so that I could pitch it to networks, pitch it to producers, and work with more people on it so that I can grow more of that community. I'm working on merch right now, more live shows. So like that's something that people can get involved with. And then with Bleak, just signing up.
Where can we find you? What's your website?
It's bleeck.co.
Can you say it again for us?
Yeah, bleeck.co. And you can go there and sign up. There's also an Instagram account that's just bleeck. And I'm just continuing to grow that community, hopefully.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes,
it was so great to have you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hi, Ryan. For those who don't know who you are, please introduce yourself.
Hi there, my name is Ryan Hall, and I am the program manager for Code Fever Miami and Black Tech.
Awesome. So, how did you get into this tech space?
How did I get into the tech space? I've been in the tech space for a very long time, since about high school. I had a lot of friends who were in like the tech team for my school, and I ended up doing a lot of hardware work. So I trained in I trained in A+ and ActionScript. So I learned coding back in high school, and then I ended up graduating into the senior IT team for my school. So I was managing the entire infrastructure and network at my school, and replacing computers and installing smart boards and all this other crazy stuff.
So you were like a smart student, clearly, because you basically took over what they might have hired professors for.
I was just around people who were smarter than me. That's what the thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
You mentioned A+. Is that a certification?
Yeah. It's a certification for computer repair and stuff like that. So it's a hardware certification, and if anybody's looking to get into.
Okay, so you were telling us about A+.
Yeah, so A+ certification is a great certification for computer repair. It's awesome if you want to start getting into understanding hardware and just have a way of making money when you're doing stuff or learning in school.
So what made you so passionate about this Code Fever project that is amazing right now? I mean, how did you say this is what I want to do, this is what I want to be a part of? Did you reach out to did you have resources that allowed you to be in that space and was part of the incubation phase? How did you even get into this amazing opportunity that you're now providing to a lot of people?
So the way I got involved with Code Fever and this whole organization was originally I'd seen Felicia Hatcher, who was one of the co-founders. I saw her talk at TEDx MIA, which is an amazing tech conference. Well, it's an organization. If you haven't checked it out, TED.com. Absolutely amazing talks. Felicia, she blew my mind. She was talking about entrepreneurship. At the time, she owned her own gourmet popsicle company, Feverish Pops.
Yeah.
She ended up, over time, I was working with them, helping them out with stuff with their, Feverish Pop company. I went off to college and stuff like that at the University of Miami. And then around the time when she started up Code Fever Miami, she was looking for somebody to come on as a media coordinator for one of the camps that they were doing. And I went to this camp that they were doing in Miami at this place that's right next door to the Lab Miami, which is one of the first big co-working spaces down in Miami.
Okay.
They're the forerunners of that. And going down there for that camp, they partnered with Nifty down in Miami, and they were working with these teen kids who had their own businesses. Not ideas. They had functioning businesses.
Kids.
Well, I wouldn't say
young
to make
people.
They were 16, 17, 18.
Wow.
So these were juniors and seniors in high school, and just listening to them talk. One girl was making gourmet chocolate creations and selling them online. Another boy was making custom computers for people, and then there was this one girl who was making custom lowrider bikes in her family shop for people and like selling them, and it was absolutely amazing. Wow. The one kid who blew me away more than anybody else was this one girl. She was doing hair, nails, and makeup for girls for like their quinces and prom and all this stuff, and she had 3 employees.
Really?
Yes. So,
at 16, 17?
Yes. And I was just like, what was I doing when I was that age in high school? Like, so seeing what was possible for kids when they're given the right resources and the right mentorship, that really motivated me to like be a part of this organization, because they were teaching coding and entrepreneurship to students. So I wanted to be a part of that, and I ended up becoming went from the media coordinator. I learned what they were teaching in the curriculum. I ended up becoming one of the teaching assistants, and then I ended up becoming a programming instructor, then the lead programming instructor. Now I am the program manager, and I oversee the programs that we do now.
Wow, that's awesome. That's totally awesome. So clearly there was a why. There was something that struck, that made you say, I want to be a part of this. Mm-hmm. Now that you've graduated, you went from just kind of, being the media coordinator. Now you're overseeing the entire project. What was that breakthrough moment to say, I'm living in my purpose right now?
Oh, my breakthrough moment. What would I say would be my breakthrough moment? I would probably have to say it was the day that we started our program with a really amazing arts organization down in Miami, the Adrian Arts Center. Okay. And I oversaw that entire project from like the start to the end of it. So
was that overwhelming?
It wasn't overwhelming. It was, I would have to say that it was really fulfilling to see a project that was just something in my mind, watch it go from an idea to a conversation to actually doing the classes and working with the kids and having them. These were like middle school students who actually went through and built a live website for this organization, and they were building games and interactive elements for other kids their age to play. And it was amazing to have that, so the kids at the end of it were able to look at it and be like, I helped make this. And that was amazing to go from like that point to just having an idea to having an actual like program and a project that other kids are sharing in this now, and they can say like, I did this and now I can share this with the world.
Along the way, have you had some mentors that has really been that support system to encourage you as you've gone on this journey?
Oh, definitely. Derek and Felicia, the biggest mentors in my life. I owe everything in my life to them, because they have been really integral in my growth as a professional, as a coder, as a leader.
Oh, so you code. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's part of what we teach. So part of our program is like actually teaching kids, teens, and adults how to code and build websites and build apps, because when you give them these amazing skills, they can build amazing things.
How can they get involved? Someone who's listening and saying, hey, I want to be a part of this, I want to be in this program. Is there an age requirement? Obviously they can come to Code Tech or Code Fever, Miami, etc. How do you encourage them to get involved?
So if you're based out of Miami or Palm Beach or Broward County down in Florida, we offer classes. We're actively looking for volunteers and people who are interested, who are a little bit older, who want to give back to the community. So if you're a coder, email me at ryan@codefevermiami.com. We'd love to have you come in and be a part of the team. We also welcome people who are not necessarily coders, because we teach a whole range of things from entrepreneurship, graphic design. So if you're versed in any of those skills, come on down. If you're somebody who has a student between the ages of about 10 to 18, we have our classes that we do in the summer. So we're doing our summer boot camps and our one-day hackathons. So if you're interested in that, again, send me an email. But if you're in any other state or city outside of that, or you're near a city in our 10-city tour, then definitely reach out to us at events at Code Fever Miami. That's Denasia. She coordinates just about everything for Black Tech Week.
Yes.
She is our wonder person and genius, so thank you to Denasia, because we couldn't do this without you. But if you're interested in getting involved in Black Tech Week, either as a speaker or a vendor, or you know somebody who wants to get involved, or you just want to come out to any of our events, definitely reach out to Denasia at events@codefevermiami.com.
Favorite book?
Favorite book? I would have to say The Tao of Pooh.
Who's the author of that?
I forgot his name, but it's an amazing book that goes over the principles in the Tao Te Ching, which is like this like Asian philosophy book.
Okay.
But it applies it specifically to Winnie the Pooh, because Winnie the Pooh embodies all of these principles. So it's like an amazing book where it goes over these principles, but it's like a conversation between him and Winnie the Pooh. Yeah.
Funny. Thank you so much for sitting with us and talking with us, Ryan. I really appreciate it. Thank you for everything you're doing. Any last words that you want to?
Come out to Black Tech Weekend. We're coming to, well, now this is our first, our 10th city, so we have 9 more to go throughout the year. So if you're interested, check us out at blacktechweek.com or on Facebook, Black Tech Week, and check us out to see which city we're coming in near you.
Awesome. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.
Yes. That was good.